Cenk Uygur is an absolutely fascinating individual. You might know him as the owner, founder, and host of the online progressive, and I can't use this term loosely enough, news show, The Young Turks. You might also know him from his failed congressional run or the many numerous ways that YouTube, the company, has decided to aid him and his company by using him for instructional videos or whatever. But that's not what makes Cenk Uygur so interesting. What makes Cenk Uygur such a fascinating individual is the division between how he sees himself and how the rest of the world sees him. Because Cenk, according to Cenk, is somebody who sticks to the facts. He believes in facts, he believes in science, and he gives you the facts on his show, and then he gives you his progressive opinion, which is rooted deeply in those facts. However, the rest of the platform, except for the people who still follow the Young Turks religiously, see Cenk Uygur as someone who puts his opinion and personal politics above all. Someone who's either completely ignorant of the facts or somebody who is actively lying and trying to deceive their audience about the facts. And a perfect example of the division between what Cenk Uygur thinks he is and who Cenk Uygur actually is how Cenk covered Andrew Gillum. And I'm not just talking about the recent scandal with Andrew Gillum. I'm talking about Andrew Gillum throughout his entire run for the Florida governorship. Because Andrew Gillum is a progressive politician, and he's actually a pretty good progressive politician. If you've ever heard this man speak, he's almost Obama-esque, and I get why a lot of people in the progressive movement would want somebody like that on their side, because he's somebody that makes them feel better. And also, Andrew Gillum is somebody who was from the state of Florida. Florida is a key swing state in our elections, and conventional wisdom in American politics is that if you can win a gubernatorial position or a Senate seat in a state that is a purple state, you have a really good chance of being a presidential candidate. And this is why throughout Andrew Gillum's gubernatorial campaign in the state of Florida, Cenk Uygur and other far-left media outlets consistently minimized scandals that would cripple other candidates while hyping and trying to destroy his opponent, Ron DeSantis. Now, what am I talking about with scandals? Well, Andrew Gillum actually ended up paying, while he was the mayor of Tallahassee, a $5,000 fine because he received an illegal gift from a lobbyist. Now, if any Republican or any corporatist Democrat would have done what Andrew Gillum did on their way to running for governor, Cenk Uygur and other far-left figures in the online progressive media would have attacked him mercilessly for it. However, what you got from Cenk Uygur related to this scandal, which Andrew Gillum did in fact pay a fine for, was nothing. By contrast, the way that Cenk Uygur and the other progressives in online media covered his opponent Ron DeSantis, who only ended up beating Andrew Gillum by half a percentage point. Yes, Andrew Gillum was almost the governor of Florida and a surefire top-tier presidential candidate. If not for 30,000 votes in the state of Florida, this man would not only be the governor of Florida, but he would also be in an incredibly strong position going into the Democratic 2020 primary. Now, what do I mean by soft coverage by people like Cenk Uygur and others in online progressive media? Well, there was this incident, and by incident, I mean complete non-incident, where Ron DeSantis was asked a question about whether or not they should turn to a progressive like Andrew Gillum, and he responded in this way.
Well, look, I mean, Florida elections are always competitive, and this is a guy who, although he's much too liberal for Florida, I think he's got huge problems with how he's governed Tallahassee. He is an articulate spokesman for those far left views, and he's a charismatic candidate. And I watched those Democrat debates. None of that was my cup of tea, but I mean, he performed better than the other people there. So we've got to work hard to make sure that we continue Florida going in a good direction. Let's build off the success we've had on Governor Scott. The last thing we need to do is to monkey this up by trying to embrace a socialist agenda with huge tax increases and bankrupting the state. That is not going to work. That's not going to be good for Florida. So I'm going to fight for what I believe in, because I think I'm the guy who can really lead Florida in a good direction.
Now, throwing a monkey wrench into something as a synonym for messing it up is an extremely common expression in the United States of America and possibly in the rest of the English-speaking world. Now, when you take the context of what Ron DeSantis was trying to say with Andrew Gillum's candidacy, it is clear that he was alluding to that expression. That's the most generous, fair-minded reading of that expression. I've heard that phrase before, and many other people have heard that phrase before. But of course, Cenk Uygur did not interpret this in a generous way. In fact, he didn't even interpret this as a racist dog whistle. Cenk Uygur began reporting on his program because, again, he doesn't care about facts and he's completely in the tank for Andrew Gillum, that Ron DeSantis called Gillum specifically a monkey.
It's DeSantis basically calling Gilliam a monkey. I mean, I thought, no, Americans are better than that. Turns out I was wrong, and in Florida, they were not better than that. And it appears in Georgia, they were not better than that. So, because, I mean, look, they couldn't have made it any clearer. They said monkey,
Now, with all that prelude, and you understanding how Cenk Uygur treated Ron DeSantis, going far beyond the least generous interpretation of what he said, to outright making up things that he said and attributing to him, even though what he said is fully on video and you can watch it for yourself, let's talk about how Cenk Uygur treated Andrew Gillum's latest and least greatest situation, where he was found high on meth, naked, in a hotel room with a gay prostitute with meth present in the hotel room.
So, first of all, I think a lot of the headlines are a little misleading and really, really damaging because most people just read the headlines. So, when it says that Gillum was found in a Miami Beach hotel room with methamphetamines, which is what the majority of the headlines say, it makes it sound like we know for sure that it was meth when we don't even know that, and that he was taking the meth when we certainly don't know that. I've been pointing out today that if it is meth, it was on the floor. Why am I pointing out that it's on the floor? Because they didn't find it on him. It's very different than if the police find it on him, as opposed to on the floor with at least three other people in the hotel room. Okay.
First of all, the reason they couldn't find the meth on Andrew Gillum is because Gillum was not wearing any clothes. Also, notice how Cenk inflates the number of people that were in the hotel room. He says at least 3 other people were present in the room. That is not the case. It was Gillum alone with Dyson, who has a profile on rentboy.com. Then the third person comes into the room, sees Gillum throwing up in the toilet, realizes that Dyson is overdosing on meth, and he called the police. So there were only 2 people in the room, but for some reason, Cenk Uygur, because it's Andrew Gillum, decides to inflate the number of people and talk about how the meth was just floor meth. It wasn't meth that was on anybody's possession. I mean, you have someone overdosing on meth who is a male escort. The drug in question is meth, which is commonly used as a sex drug among gay males, and Andrew Gillum and this other gay male were both naked in the hotel room. Really hard to figure out what's going on here in this situation, Cenk.
Someone found in a fancy hotel room, if it's true that he was attending a wedding who's heavily intoxicated, is called an American, okay?
Right.
So now the right wingers online are saying, Cenk, not everybody drinks at a wedding. Okay, if you want to have fun, I drink at weddings. I don't know what kind of folks you are. I'm not judging you if you don't. Right?
Cenk, what are you talking about? And what right-wingers are you arguing against? Nobody is saying that it's weird to drink alcohol at a wedding. What people are saying is weird is that a gubernatorial candidate was found naked in a hotel room with a gay male escort, and there was meth present. And he was so intoxicated, he could not even give a statement to the police. Also, you know what's a little bit weird? When you are supposedly a straight man who's married with 3 kids, and you're attending a wedding without your wife or your 3 kids. Instead, you decide to attend the wedding, oddly enough, in a hotel room with a male escort. That's what people think is weird, Cenk. And did I forget to mention the meth? That's also the thing that people are arguing against you with, Cenk. You're the one who's saying, well, it's just floor meth, it's not a big deal. How many times have you guys walked into a hotel room? I stay in a lot of hotel rooms when I travel. How many times have you just walked into a hotel room and you just found bags of meth on the floor? How many times have you found just a random dude randomly in your hotel room, passed out on the bed, completely naked? How many times have you gone into a hotel room? I mean, let's be honest, this happens to everyone. And you found a naked gubernatorial candidate on the floor in the bathroom. Honestly, it happens so much, it's such a common occurrence, that I'm really more shocked when I go to a hotel room bathroom and there isn't a naked gubernatorial candidate there, right, Cenk? Right?
And so is there a wedding? I don't know. Maybe Gillum's going to the wedding because remember, he was mayor of Tallahassee, not Miami. They're very, very distant from one another. Maybe that's why he's in town. Maybe it's not true. I don't know. So just because Dyson says he wasn't going to a wedding doesn't mean Gilliam wasn't going to a wedding.
Just listen to the level of desperation as Cenk tries to spin this. And by the way, Cenk started trying to spin this on Twitter, so this was later. He had hours to prepare this explanation, this defense of Andrew Gillum. And the best he could come up with is, Tallahassee, Miami, those places are really far apart. Maybe Gillum was attending a wedding. Just because he was in a hotel room with a male escort who says that he definitely wasn't attending a wedding doesn't mean that that's not a common occurrence. Do you know how far away Miami and Tallahassee are? Could happen.
Maybe that's why he's in town. Maybe it's not true. I don't know. So just because Dyson says he wasn't going to a wedding doesn't mean Gillum wasn't going to a wedding. And so I'm just saying there's 1,000 things here that are unknown, but the headlines make it seem like they are known.
I don't know. I don't know anything at this point. Can't you see that I'm just desperately trying to give Andrew Gillum some kind of an out in this situation? I'm just defending this guy because I agree with his politics. I would never give anyone I disagree with this level of the benefit of the doubt that I'm giving to Andrew Gillum right now. I don't know anything. Tallahassee, Miami, really far apart. Now, Cenk tries to parlay some kind of logical, coherent point because when you're going this far against what you would normally do for somebody on the other side, you have to rationalize it in some way, shape, or form. So he compares what happened with Andrew Gillum to George W. Bush's well-known alcoholism. Although George W. Bush acknowledged alcoholism, alcohol is legal, and George Bush stopped drinking at some point in his life before he became president. However, then J.R. Jackson attempts to address the elephant in the room, and that elephant in the room is that there was no way, shape, or form that they would give a Republican the same level of the benefit of the doubt in similar or much less damning circumstances.
If this was a Republican, right? And in general, especially a Republican we don't like. So you may see Republicans see this and don't like Andrew Gillum because he actually had platforms where he was looking to help people. That's their basis for disliking. Anyway, if there's a Republican to this, we'd be all over him. Let's keep it real. But the reason we'd be all over him is because he probably preaches against folks and saying they can't do this, shouldn't do that, therefore if they do, they're garbage people, and then it's a hypocrisy problem, right? Now, I'm not sure where Andrew Gillum has ever stood on saying people as far as being in situations where there is someone else's room that is high or does drugs or any of that stuff, but that's where the problem comes in. So people who may bring up and go, oh, you guys are just giving him excuses because you're Democrats or support him, the reason is because generally liberals let people live.
Now, what's great about this non-explanation is that embedded in it is the actual reason why they're giving Gillum the benefit of the doubt that they would never give a Republican even if they were in far less damning circumstances. And that is, they agree with his politics. That whole mess about Andrew Gillum's policies actually trying to help people, that's because they believe that progressive policies actually try to help people, and they don't grant that same belief in the people who vote for Republicans and Republican candidates. That's why they're giving the benefit of the doubt to Gillum, even though he's caught dead to rights and everybody can see plainly exactly what happened in this situation. And for those of you who are buying this explanation that the reason why Gillum deserves the benefit of the doubt is that there's no hypocrisy angle, because they think that he would have a better position on drugs than most Republicans, A, that's complete nonsense because they didn't bother to look up that position before stating it in this video. And B, we know for a fact that a politician like Rand Paul actually does believe in reform for people who are addicted to drugs and doesn't believe in incarcerating those people. And there's no way that you're going to convince me that if Rand Paul was found in a situation where there was meth on the floor, that they would give him the benefit of the doubt, even though he has that exact position that they're implying that Andrew Gillum maybe has. Remember, we did a video on this very channel about the Young Turks attacking and making fun of Rand Paul's wife when she talked to a newspaper about how she was anxious about being attacked in her home or when she's out with her husband. This was directly after Rand Paul was attacked on his front lawn by his neighbor and after somebody tried to shoot up the congressional baseball game practice, which Rand Paul was attending. So while I'm glad that Andrew Gillum checked himself into rehab, and I do hope that he gets the help that he needs, and I hope that he works things out with his wife in such a way that benefits his kids, I'm not hearing anything about the benefit of the doubt and the mercy of progressives from the Young Turks. These people are only defending Gillum because they wanted Gillum to be the governor and eventually run for president. They don't care about anything else. They don't care about the facts. They don't care about the circumstances on the ground. And they would never, ever give a Republican who is 1/10 as guilty as Andrew Gillum any shred of the benefit of the doubt. But those are my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you like this video, then show me by leaving a like. You can subscribe for more content. Follow me on all my social medias. You can support me via the donation links in the description box. There's monthly and one-time, and I got a Teespring store. This has been me talking about the Young Turks, total hypocrisy, and Andrew Gillum. Till next time.